We've talked about instances where conspiracy theories are used by influential people to, for malevolent reasons, or to throw people off, or all that. What impact does that have on people who are susceptible to them, where they're obviously not? There's no basis in truth.
Sure, that's a very good question, and it kind of alludes to a point that I guess I certainly think is quite important with this topic, which is that conspiracy theories do have consequences. We kind of talked about the entertainment side of it earlier on, which gives us it could fool people into thinking what's the harm, right? I've got this elderly uncle that I see once a year at Christmas dinner, and he spouts about the moon landing every time, and no one takes him seriously. What's the problem? But then you get people who, there are kind of multiple levels to the consequences. So we've kind of alluded to the psychological consequences already. Things like depression, stress, and paranoia. These things are all correlated in the literature with increased conspiracy belief. You have social consequences as well. So there's one study, for example, from Poland, looking at conspiracy belief and the Smolensk air disaster. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one. So basically, I always get the year wrong. I want to say 2010, but I could be wrong. It's in and around there. President of Poland, VP, and some other people were on a private plane to Russia. And as it was coming into land, there was heavy fog. It crashed, and everyone aboard was sadly killed. And for some people in Poland, this wasn't a good, the kind of natural weather version of this wasn't really good enough. And they started believing conspiracy theories that perhaps Putin had something to do with this. And what one study has found is that people who believe the conspiracy theory and people who don't believe the conspiracy theory express less desire to socialize with people on the other side of this. Right. That makes sense. So it kind of discourages social closeness. It kind of pushes people apart in times of societal trauma like this. I imagine it was probably similar as well. You hear after, like Brexit, for instance, you hear some people talking about how it split their family apart because mum voted Remain and dad voted Leave, or something like that. And similar in the US as well, of course, divisions on political things. So it has that kind of impact. But then even worse, it also has impact for people who don't believe them as well, because people can go out and do violent things in the name of conspiracy theories. Anders Breivik in Norway, who shot up, children, members of the Youth Labour Party in Norway, because he believed that Muslims were trying to take over his country. People like that. Even Hitler, he started with a conspiracy belief about Jewish people trying to dominate the world. So, there are definitely very dark consequences associated with these conspiracy theories. And you mentioned consequences for believers. One case that comes to mind quite strongly, and there are multiple levels to this one as to why this is kind of a very dark case in terms of consequences, but Dylan Roof in America, who I can't remember how long ago this was. I always forget the year. Was it 2014? 2014. But anyway, he had some conspiracy beliefs, which in effect were black people trying to take over America. And he felt so strongly about it that he got a gun. He went to a church in South Carolina, killed a bunch of people. And then he was arrested and so on. And not too long ago, because I think he was sentenced to death, but they're appealing the sentence. And he recently changed his legal representation. I say recently, I'm talking like maybe a year ago, but relatively recently. He changed his legal representation. And the argument for this was that their planned strategy to get him life in prison instead of death penalty was basically his mental health. He's not very well. He might have schizophrenia or something like this. His agency might not be there. They were trying that line of argument, as it were. And Dylan Roof didn't like this, right? Because what he wanted his defense to be was basically, I'm right about black people.
Right.
He wanted to get off on the basis that his conspiracy theory was true.
Right.
That is how toxic a hold this conspiracy belief had on this guy, to the extent that, like, even in an arena where it probably would be in his self-interest to just lie and say, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm under a lot of pressure or whatever, and this conspiracy belief has got, that there's a way in which he could have gone against his own beliefs to save his own life, and he won't even do that.
Right.
I mean, if that's not a damning indictment of what conspiracy beliefs can do to someone believing them, then I'm not sure what is.
Yeah. Thanks for watching that clip. You can watch the full episode right here. But until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again for another one very soon.